Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining us. Today we are on our way to fetch yet another car. Through some of our contacts we've managed to identify a whole car that's available. So I'm on my way to go fetch that now. We're going to use a lot of those parts. So we're going to mix and match between the two chassis and use a lot of the parts from the 5-speed on the race car. And then we're just going to have to get rid of a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, like I said, it's quite a lot of work. It's a long road ahead. So the ideal situation is you need the 3-door chassis with the 1400 motor with a 5-speed gearbox, and then do whatever you want to the motor. So that's the plan. Stick with us. Let's see how we go. Right, it's the next day. It is middle of winter, it's freezing cold, and we got ourselves 2 Renault 5s. Why do we have 2 Renault 5s, you may ask yourself? Well, I'm asking myself the same question. No, the reason we have a second Renault 5 is this is a parts car. So there's a whole bunch of bits we're going to use from this car for that car. So effectively, that's the right chassis, that's the right engine and gearbox, and then there's a whole lot of nicer bits on this car that we're going to put on that car. But that also means that there is a lot of swapping around and all sorts of good stuff that needs to happen. So yeah, let me take you around this car and show you what it's about. So this is the engine that we're going to be using for this this build and this project. So this is the 1400 engine with the 5-speed gearbox. That one had a 1300 with a 4-speed gearbox. The biggest reason we went for this was because of the gearbox. And then also this chassis is in much better condition in terms of mechanicals. So we're going to use quite a lot of mechanical bits from this chassis. But the biggest thing is this engine. Now, there were a lot of plans for this motor, and there is a lot we can do, but we'll just have to see in terms of budget and how it works out. But as you can see, everything is in a much better condition. Hopefully we're going to have a lot easier life with this engine, but we'll just have to see. These cars are quite challenging. We wanted to run side drafts on this car, To do that, there's quite a few modifications you have to do to make it work. We are limited in quite a few ways, so we might end up running this carburetor or a 36 DCD or a Weber downdraft to make it work. So what I was thinking is you run this carb. This is the heater box, which draws cold air from the bonnet over here, that section. So 10 to 1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the heater motor and blank off the section into the chassis, and then run a pipe, maybe build this up a bit bigger, or refabricate a box that goes right across over to the carb. Either that or make this slightly bigger and then run a pipe into here so that it can draw air from the bonnet. So that's one of the mods, and we're going to be quite creative on this car. The other challenge is the exhaust. I'm not really sure if you can see, but effectively the exhaust comes through, and like I had to cut it on the old car here, so effectively it comes through into the wheel well and then goes under the side of the car and out the back. So trying to get a decent style exhaust, mandrel bent exhaust in here is going to be a challenge. Historically they've done quite a few different things, but we're going to have to figure that out as we go. Obviously the jack is going to go, we are using that chassis, so, but there's a lot that's going to change in terms of the setup. So yeah, good times. So the thing is, the interior on this car is much nicer than the other car. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the dash from this car and the center console and run it in the other car, which is over here, so you can see the difference in the dash. So then we'll 10 to 1 end up using the door cards as well. So I want to run the standard dash cluster setup because it keeps it quite vintage, quite original, especially with the center console. I want to keep all of that the same, and that kind of gives it a really nice OE feel. So what we might do here down the bottom is we might build in a switch panel over here, so you can have your master on off switch, fan override, fuel pump override, etc. if you need. But all of this I think we're going to try to keep the same. This gauge revs to 8. This motor will not rev to 8. Simply because to get this kind of motor to rev to 8 would require an insane amount of work and money, and it's just not worth it. So it's probably going to rev to maybe 6.5, if that, depending on which cam we use. So there's a few other bits we're going to use. The grille on this car is actually in much better condition than the one on that car, so we will use the grille. We want to try and find a bumper that has almost the lip, so it's a slightly lower style bumper. I don't know what the term for that is. It has a skirt or whatever on the front. So if you have one, please let us know. And then yeah, just quite a few bits. Obviously you can see the indicators a lot better than that car. Yeah, so really the next step is I need to start stripping this chassis, and I need to get onto the fabrication. So we've got to prep for the cage, and then there's some metal fabrication that needs to happen on here. There's a bit of rust repair, and then there's, like I said, there's battery relocation. We have to work very closely with the rules to make sure that we fit within the regulations, and then this chassis needs to go off to blasting, because from blasting it's going to go to paint. So there's a theme that we're going to go with because it's a replica. But like I say, there's also a lot of suspension work, etc. There's a bunch of rubberizing on the bottom of the chassis, which is just there to protect the bottom of the chassis. All of that has to come off because it's just a whole lot of weight that we need to take out of the chassis. And then there's a lot of small bits and bobs that need to come off as well, which is effectively just adding weight. So that'll be the next episode. We'll be hacking this thing apart, trying to get weight out of it. This car is going to sit for a while until we are ready to do a few things. We might get to a point where we've got to fit that motor in that chassis to figure out exhaust and whatever before it goes to paint. But it's going to be a bit of a process. So as it is with a race car, there's a lot of fabrication and prep work that needs to go into it before it goes to paint. So paint really is like the last thing you want to do. It's not always practical with timelines and schedules and people's, like the painters or the panel beater's schedule. He might only be able to slot you in at a certain time, so then you have to work around it. So we're just going to have to see. So that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you for watching. We appreciate all the support, and please follow us, like us on Instagram. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. Maybe consider subscribing, and thank you. We'll see you guys next time. Ciao.